Hey everyone, so today we're going to dive into a really big topic, something that's at the absolute heart of the doctor-patient relationship, informed consent, or as it's known in Spanish, consentimiento informado. We're going to find out why it's so much more than just scribbling your name on a piece of paper. I want you to think back to the last time you were at a hospital or a clinic. You know the drill, right? Someone hands you a clipboard, a whole stack of forms, and you're just trying to get it done. We've all been there, kind of anxiously signing and initialing things without really knowing what we're agreeing to. But what if that whole moment, that clipboard, was actually supposed to be the beginning of a conversation? So let's break that idea down, because this is the first thing you have to get. Informed consent is not about the signature. It's a whole process, one that's designed to put you in the driver's seat of your own healthcare. Now look at the language here. The words that jump out are continuous dialogue and process. See? It's not a one-and-done deal. It's meant to be an ongoing conversation where you get all the information you need, the good, the bad, and what your other options are, so that you can make a decision that is truly 100% yours. And this really gets to the core of it all. It boils down to one powerful word: autonomy. The whole idea of informed consent is just the real-world application of your right to be in charge. It's the simple but profound idea that you and only you are the ultimate authority when it comes to your own body. Okay, so what actually makes your consent valid in the eyes of the law and, ethics? It's way more than just a casual, okay, sure. For your consent to be truly informed and valid, it has to stand on 4 essential pillars. And here they are, the big 4: information, voluntariness, capacity, and liberty. Every single one is non-negotiable. If you take away even one of these pillars, the whole thing crumbles, and you don't really have valid consent. So let's take a look at what they mean. So, pillar number 1, information, is maybe the most important. The info you're given can't be rushed. It can't be full of medical jargon you can't understand. It has to be clear, honest, and totally complete. That means covering not just why a procedure might be good for you, but also the risks involved and any other options you might have. And, this is so important, it has to be timely. You need to be given enough time to actually think about it. The other 3 pillars really just support that foundation. Voluntariness and liberty pretty much mean your decision has to be made freely. No one, not your doctor, not your family, can pressure you into it. And then there's capacity. This just means you're in a state of mind where you can understand the information, appreciate what the consequences are, and then tell someone your choice. It's not about being a medical expert, it's just about being able to process everything for yourself. Now, here's the thing. This isn't just a nice idea or some ethical guideline. It's the law. Let's actually look at how the legal system in Mexico protects your right to make your own decisions. You can kind of think of it like a pyramid of protection. Right at the very top, you've got the Constitution, which says health is a basic human right. Then, a step below that, the general health law gets way more specific about your rights as a patient. And at the bottom, you have all these official rules and regulations that spell out exactly how this stuff works day to day in the hospital. And here it is, word for word, straight from the general health law. It says, users have the right to decide freely. I mean, it doesn't get much clearer than that, right? It's in black and white. It's your legally protected right. And the law even gets more specific. It lays out the exact situations where a verbal okay isn't enough, when your consent has to be in writing. And we're talking about the big stuff: major surgery, being put under anesthesia, participating in clinical research, all these high-stakes situations. That written document is a crucial piece of protection for everybody involved. Okay, so this all makes sense when you're planning for a procedure. But what about when things go wrong? What happens in those critical moments when there's just no time for a long conversation? This is the big question, right? The one we all think about. Picture it. There's an accident, you're rushed to the ER, and you're unconscious. The doctors have to act right now to save your life. What happens to your right to consent then? Well, the law has a very specific answer for this exact situation. It's something called therapeutic privilege, or privilegio terapéutico. Think of it as a life-saving exception. It gives doctors the power to act when waiting to get consent would literally mean the difference between life and death. But, and this is a huge but, this privilege is not a blank check. The rules for using it are incredibly strict and narrow. It only applies in a true extreme emergency, when the patient can't make a decision, there's no family around to speak for them, and acting immediately is the only way to save their life. And there's a protocol they have to follow. A doctor has to determine there's an immediate threat to life, and in many cases, they need to get a second doctor to agree with them before they can proceed. Then they act. And after, they have to write down every single detail, justifying why they had to use this exception. It's a system of checks and balances to make sure it's only used when it's absolutely necessary. So, as we start to pull all of this together, let's go back to why this whole process, this dialogue, matters so much. Because it's not just about protecting the patient. When it's done right, it helps everyone. For you as the patient, it's about empowerment. It takes you from being a passive person that things happen to and makes you an active partner in your own health. It protects your rights and makes sure the care you get is the care you actually chose. And what about for the doctors and nurses? Well, it gives them legal security. It proves they acted ethically and with your permission. But even more than that, it builds a stronger relationship, one that's based on trust and respect. And really, that's the foundation of all good medicine. When you boil it all down, it comes back to this simple idea. Informed consent isn't some bureaucratic checkbox. It is the real, practical way that the medical world shows respect for you as a person who has the right to decide your own path. So I'll leave you with this. The next time you're in that situation and someone hands you that clipboard, are you going to see it as just another annoying form to sign? Or are you going to see it for what it is? An invitation and your right to start a conversation, to ask your questions, and to be the person who decides your own story. The choice, as it always should be, is yours.